One of the most important operations the city carries out is the operation of the Wastewater Treatment Plant. Close followers of city government may have frequently heard the expression ENR upgrade when the Department of Public Works operations were being discussed. Today, we'll learn about ENR, Enhanced Nutrient Removal, and why you will care about the upgrade that assures the environmentally sound operation of the city's wastewater treatment plant. So, Stona, Jason, welcome. It's great to have you here to help explain a very complicated topic that I'm sure a lot of people in Frederick don't understand. The enhanced nutrient removal gets talked about at a lot of meetings, and we have the great news that the project is completed. Can you tell us a lot about that today?
We are near completion. The ENR process has been in operation for a while, so from the ENR perspective, it is completed, it is operational, and we're looking forward to wrapping it up here in the next few months.
We started meeting the compliance for the ENR in May of 2018, so we've been in compliance with that standard ever since then, even though the construction is still going on for different things.
And that enhanced nutrient removal is state mandated efforts to reduce the amount of material that ends up in the final outflow from the wastewater treatment plant.
Correct. It affects mostly the major facilities in Maryland that all ultimately ends up affecting the Chesapeake Bay. So that's the goal. You have the biggest three are nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment.
And prior to ENR, there was a different standard that the city was required to meet. So as these standards change, the challenge we have as a community is finding the resources to do whatever plant modifications and upgrades are necessary to meet the new guidelines.
Correct. Yeah. The last system was BNR, which was biological nutrient removal, and essentially ENR lessens those standards by half what they used to be. So the regulations got really tight to meet. So that takes a great deal more technology. So we had to build new facility within the plant. There's a new process there that helps us achieve those goals.
How do those materials get into the system? The things that we want to remove?
I mean, human waste, obviously, but fertilizer, people fertilizing their yards and stuff, nitrogen, phosphorus is high in those things. So that ends up in the water systems and water supplies. So, yeah. So, and phosphorus, I mean, that's been a big one over the years that they've taken those things out of some of the products,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
The soaps, I guess.
Soaps, yeah. Laundry detergents, stuff like that, yeah.
A project like this is expensive. It takes a lot of time, and you have to do that while you keep the plant operational so that it continues to do what it needs to do. What if you can talk a little bit about some of the challenges through the construction project that you faced in managing a project that has this scope, that's this important in terms of what it's supposed to do, all while trying to maintain normal operations?
Yeah, that is a challenge, and it's the contractor's always working on one part of the system or another, so you have to try to manage that, manage their time, not hold them up so it doesn't cost more. So it's definitely a challenge, because at times a third or even a half of the biological systems that you need to keep things running have to be offline for a period of time. So you try to plan for that, so around weather conditions and whatever. So and just like last year was challenging because it was such a wet year. So yeah, that's been a real challenge. We never had an issue with non-compliance at any of those times. But yeah, it takes a great effort between maintenance staff and my staff and the contractors to make sure we achieve that.
Well, we had a couple of little hiccups there from an electricity perspective during the construction project that I know, Jason, you had to manage and contend with.
Right. And that was, something that took place, I guess, last March. And we worked through that. I think the final repairs were made in August, but during the event when it happened, we ended up discharging or bypassing the plant, discharging directly to the creek. But other than that, it didn't, once the initial event was over that same day, we were back to our normal process. So that one hurt a little bit. It wasn't really related to construction in any way. But it did, however, affect the sequence of some of the construction after that, because we were operating on only a portion of the plant electrical distribution infrastructure. And so we had to hold off on some work until a later point in time. But we were able to work through it. And this idea of temporary operations is that Stona was referring to, is something that continued throughout the whole project from beginning to end. And it was, it's something very inconvenient for our operations staff. And it was, something that I think is a big success for us, because it is something that has a potential to cause violations of permit. And it also is something that, if we weren't willing to cooperate and do it efficiently, could potentially hold up the contract too, the contract schedule. So
given how wet a year 2018 was, and coming through that, having that experience, must feel good to have largely weathered those storms. It wasn't without, some challenges, but the plant came through the way we would want it to come through.
Yeah, it definitely taught us some things, because especially the new ENR facility itself, speaking about filters, we put in denitrification filters. We had no idea, could they handle the amount of flow that they could handle. So that was a good thing to see, that we was able to get the biology in a position to where we was able to handle more flow than we thought maybe we could handle. So we learned what we have, and that it came through pretty unscathed, really. I mean, we were under the limits the whole time, even during some of these high events. Now that the higher flow puts us over the quantity, the pounds that it's allowed, but the concentration limits stay within under the parameters. So that was very good to know, and moving forward.
Got its trial by fire, really.
Yeah, trial by fire, that's for sure.
That first year.
Yeah. And I was telling you earlier, we treated over 1 billion gallons more last year than normal, and that's a lot.
Now, some of that is the result of not changes in flow because of the habits of the residents that discharge into the system. It was the excessive amount of rainwater in 2018 and the amount of
into your system,
inflow and infiltration. That's something that we'll talk about from time to time, but I wonder if you can provide sort of a real quick description of what inflow and infiltration is and how that impacts our wastewater treatment system.
Yeah, I mean, the conveyance system that brings the wastewater from the homes to our plant can develop cracks in the pipes, and just from tree roots and trees growing, the tree roots can break into the pipes and cause leaks from groundwater infiltrating the system that way. You get inflow from people's homes that might have sump pumps hooked to their sanitary system when maybe they shouldn't have, and manhole covers. There's holes in manhole covers to bring them up, and there's sometimes the inner lining is missing or got removed somehow, or it breaks or cracks. So you just get all that water coming in as well. So it definitely causes your flow to go 3, sometimes 4 times what its normal capacity is.
And to make that plant as efficient as we can be, we're in an ongoing effort to try and address those kinds of issues, all while doing everything we can on the treatment side to make sure that we're meeting these higher environmental standards.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
You mentioned the possibility of people having sump pumps in their homes incorrectly hooked up. Can you say a little bit about that in case there's somebody watching who doesn't know what they should be doing with their sump pump, and how they might find out some place they might go for a reference?
Yeah, it's always best if you can pump that out just into your yard or your backyard or whatever, but not have it connected into the sanitary sewer system. you might think, well, it's just a little bit in my basement, but if you think if thousands of people have that going on, it impacts your treatment plant and your conveyance system, and then that causes overflows of that water that could have just went out into your yard, mixes with the wastewater. Now it shouldn't be on the ground. So it's definitely something, if you have a system like that, if you can look at ways to get that out of there, that would definitely help. Yeah.
With the ENR kind of in the rearview mirror, mostly in the rearview mirror, what are the next things that we're looking at in terms of the wastewater treatment system, in terms of enhancements, improvements, those kinds of things?
Well, this plant now should be set up pretty well for the future. Now, the bay is still hurting. I mean, wastewater, if you look at the wastewater figures of pollutants that were going to the bay and are now going to the bay, it's drastically down, where other parts are not. And that's why you see them concentrating on stormwater and planting trees, whatever, near stream. So, but our plant should be pretty good. We always joke about ZNR, like zero nutrient removal. There's always technologies coming along, and we anticipate maybe that will happen in the future. But and then there's also the biosolid side. There's always regulations coming along down the line for that. There's different class material that you can make. We make a class B material. There's a class A material out there. So nothing's right in our screen, but there's definitely technology's always evolving. So who knows?
And there's always changes in political will on those things as well.
The food waste program is an interesting one that we have, recently had one of our consultants do a little study on. So whether or not that, to me, as far as a wastewater plant goes, that's probably the next one that we'll come across if we decide to go that route.
Without getting highly technical on that, is that about what we would feed into the digesters, or just more general than that?
Yeah, it's an anaerobic digester that we have, and with that we produce methane gas, and we have a cogeneration system that puts electricity back into the system. So the city has this green system out there that we put $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 worth of electricity back into the system that comes off our bill, and our bill can be $35,000 to $50,000 a month electricity bill. So that's a plus, and it's currently not running at full capacity. So you can potentially put food waste, a high organic material, into the digesters, allow the biology to even make more, methane, that the generator could run at a higher speed, and maybe we could get it up to 12 to 15,000 maybe a month. So that's whether we'll get there quickly or not, I don't know. We did a feasibility study on it, and it's not an easy thing. It's like, how do you get that food from restaurants and the waste and sorted, and then get it to the plant and get it in a chopped up so it can go and be beneficial to the biology that would convert it. But it's out there. We're definitely looking at it. So,
any final thoughts on being able to check this box, so to speak? Does it make the maintenance easier?
It does, in from the perspective that our equipment is more reliable, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that close to 50% of the cost of this project was replacing equipment that was at the end of its useful life. So, and you probably heard the phrase unfunded mandates, and really the ENR part of this project was mandated, which was also funded by the state. It's those unfunded mandates that, or the unfunded portion of the project, are really maintenance items. And so replacing a lot of that equipment, it brings better reliability to the plant. But one thing that we don't want to do is start neglecting this equipment from day one. So we will still be aggressive with maintaining it. Another challenge for us is the level of technology that's built into this new equipment. We're using current technology across the board. So when you come out there, the instrumentation and control systems, the automation is all current technology. And so that has changed the demand on our workforce with regard to their skill level a little bit. And, but we like it. We prefer to be in the situation we are now rather than have broken down equipment. So that's been very helpful.
You're involved in an aspect of the city that is largely invisible to the average resident or business person or visitor to town until it doesn't work the way we want it to. And so that reliability
Right.
and being able to meet the environmental mandates and requirements is really important for the city. So thank you for the work that you do.